You've always healed from broken bones, always escaped through unconsciousness, always thought you'd find peace in death. But these are 20 SCP entities that kill in ways that remove all three of these mercies. These are the most painful deaths an SCP entity can inflict on you. Meet SCP-106, the Old Man. He looks like someone's grandfather if their grandfather spent 40 years rotting in a swamp. You know how broken bones eventually heal? Well, 106 thinks healing is overrated and would like to permanently cancel that subscription for you. Here's his whole process. First, he shows up uninvited to your walls. Your locked doors mean absolutely nothing because he phases through solid matter. So that expensive security system you installed, you basically bought the world's most overpriced nightlight. He grabs you with these oily, acidic hands that start dissolving your skin on contact. Imagine the worst chemical burns you've ever heard about, except it's also somehow alive and keeps spreading. Already sounds like a blast, right? But instead of just killing you like any reasonable monster, 106 has developed a whole system. He breaks your femur. That's the big bone in your thigh, and snapping it is apparently one of the most excruciating things your body can experience. Why that specific bone? Because he's a professional. A broken femur means you physically cannot run anymore. You're basically a human potato. Then comes his signature move. He drags you into his pocket dimension, which is like his personal torture workshop where physics work however he wants them to. Time crawls by however he decides. Your broken leg stays broken forever. That acid burn never stops eating through your skin. He's basically paused your body's ability to fix itself and thrown away the remote. But at least 106 keeps you recognizably human, because SCP-610 calls itself the Flesh That Hates, which honestly sounds like a death metal band that peaked in high school and never got over it. Remember how you used to pass out when pain got really bad? That built-in mercy feature where your brain says, okay, this is too much, time for a little nap. Well, 610 took a look at that system and decided you definitely don't need it anymore. It starts innocent enough. You get what looks like a basic rash. Maybe you blame that new soap or the questionable sushi from the gas station you bought. You're not panicking yet, and that's your first mistake. Within 3 hours, thick bumps start forming all over your chest and arms. They look like scar tissue, but they're growing fast. By hour 4, they've spread to your legs and back. Hour 5, your entire body is covered, and you've been wide awake watching every single minute of this makeover. Maybe next time you won't go see the lot lizards anymore. But now your body starts getting creative in ways that would absolutely make you faint from shock. Extra arms sprout from your ribs, your head might stretch out like taffy or balloon up like a basketball. Random parts of you split open and new chunks of meat grow out of the gaps. You know how people say, I'd rather be unconscious for surgery? Well, 610 has opinions about that preference. The really considerate touch is that after you technically die from this whole transformation, your body restarts all its functions at triple normal speed. So you're extra alert while watching yourself become something that would make a zombie movie director quit the film industry and become an accountant instead. But moving on, maybe even more worse is SCP-096, and they go by the Shy Guy, which is usually the kind of name you give something when it's super cute and fluffy, right? Well, this thing has one simple rule. If you see its face, even in a photo, even for a split second, you're now on its personal to-do list. And unlike your actual to-do list, this one never gets ignored or forgotten about. What happens next is SCP-096 drops whatever it's doing and starts running towards you. Doesn't matter if you're on the other side of the planet, it doesn't care about oceans, mountains, or that you've moved 3 times since seeing the photo. It's got your address and it's not stopping. The Foundation has tried everything to stop this thing when it gets going. Bullets bounce off, explosives just make it angrier. They once hit it with a truck going 60 miles per hour, and the truck lost that fight pretty decisively. So maybe you're sitting in your house thinking, maybe I'll get tired, or maybe it'll forget, and that's adorable. 096 doesn't get tired. Doesn't get distracted by shiny objects or better offers. It's basically the world's most dedicated delivery service, except the package is your death and there's no signature required. When it finally reaches you, 096 doesn't just kill you, it tears you apart so completely that forensic teams can't even find enough pieces to confirm you existed. The crime scene looks like someone put a person in a blender and then put that blender in a bigger blender. The whole thing takes maybe 30 seconds once it arrives, which sounds fast until you remember it's spent weeks crossing continents to get there. At least 196 finishes the job quickly though, because SCP-682 calls itself the hard-to-destroy reptile. But honestly, easily bored sadist would be a more accurate title. This thing weighs about as much as a small truck and has the temperament of someone who's been on hold with customer service for 6 hours. Difference is that when 682 gets frustrated, it doesn't just hang up. It starts rearranging your internal organs for fun. 682 has this really thoughtful approach to killing. Instead of just biting you in half and calling it a day, it likes to experiment. Maybe it'll pin you down with one claw and slowly apply pressure until your ribs start popping. Maybe it'll grab your arm and see how many times it can twist it before something important breaks. The Foundation keeps detailed records of 682's kills, and reading them is basically a masterclass in creative violence. One report mentions it spreading someone's intestines across 10 feet of barbed wire. Another describes it playing catch with a person's limbs while they were still attached and conscious. What makes this especially considerate is that 682 seems to understand exactly how much damage a human body can take before shutting down. So it keeps you right at that edge where everything hurts, but you're still awake to appreciate the pain. The worst part isn't even the physical damage. It's that 682 clearly enjoys this work. It'll pause mid-torture to roar in what sounds distinctly like laughter. You're not just being killed by a monster. You're being killed by a monster that finds your suffering funny. Sometimes it'll even release someone just to hunt them later again, because it is cruel. But at least 682 kills you eventually, because SCP-409, Contagious Crystal, has turned dying into the world's slowest and most predictable thing possible. Touch this thing and your body starts turning into crystal exactly 2.5 centimeters per minute. That's not fast enough to be dramatic, but it's not slow enough to forget about it either. You've got roughly 4 hours to really think about what's going to happen to you. The process starts at whatever body part made contact. Your finger, your hand, your ding dong. Although, why are you putting a crystal? That's weird. Don't do that. Don't do that. Bad, bad. Whatever. Then it just keeps going. Tick, tick, tick. You can literally watch the crystal creep up your arm while checking your watch. What's really thoughtful is that you stay completely awake and aware for about 95% of the transformation. So you get to feel your skin hardening, your joints locking up, and your bones turning into glass. It's basically like super arthritis, but like times 10. The pain, according to test subjects, feels exactly like severe frostbite, except instead of cold, it's your entire cellular structure deciding to become decorative home decor. Your nerves keep working right up until they crystallize too, so you don't miss a single moment of becoming a very expensive paperweight. The real kicker comes at the end. After 4 hours of this very gradual renovation project, you get about 20 minutes as a complete crystal statue, just enough time to admire the beauty. Then your entire body explodes into thousands of razor-sharp pieces that embed themselves in whatever happens to be nearby. So yeah, pretty rough. But even more rough is SCP-2718, and it's called What Happens After, and it's basically the reason some Foundation officials have started treating death itself as a containment breach. Here's the thing about dying. You've always assumed that when your brain stops working, you stop experiencing things. Lights out, show's over, thanks for playing. That's the big mercy we've all been counting on our whole lives. Well, 2718 would like to have a disagreement with you. According to a Foundation official who died and came back, your consciousness doesn't actually stop when your body does. You just get to sit there, fully aware, while everything that happens to a corpse happens to you. Every single thing. First, you feel your skin start to blister and crack from the sun. Then the insects show up for dinner. You get to experience every maggot that hatches inside you, every larva that decides your muscle tissue looks tasty. You feel them crawling around in there, making themselves at home in what used to be your torso. The gas buildup is apparently particularly unpleasant. Your organs start rotting and swelling, building pressure until they burst inside you. You feel each individual cell rupture one by one. The whole process takes years, and you're awake for every second of it. The really considerate touch is that your consciousness somehow expands into the bugs and bacteria that are eating you, so you get to experience being consumed from their perspective too. You're not just the meal anymore, you're also the diners, and you're all very hungry. Even after your body is completely gone, scattered dust in the wind, you're still there, still aware, still experiencing whatever's left to experience when there's nothing left of you to experience it with. But moving on, imagine this scenario. You breathe in one tiny bug. Just one. Happens all the time, right? Except this particular bug, SCP-439, has some very specific plans for your respiratory system. This thing decides your skeleton needs a complete renovation. It's going to handle the whole project personally. No permits required, no asking permission, and definitely no consideration for your opinion on the matter. First, it sets up shop in your lungs and gets to work. Your muscles start turning into bone. Your regular bones start growing in completely wrong directions. Bone spurs punch through your skin from the inside, which is about as comfortable as it sounds. The whole remodeling process takes about 3 days. 3 days of feeling your own skeleton rearranging itself while you're fully awake and aware. Your ribs might decide to grow together into a cage. Your arms could fuse to your sides. Your spine might curl you into a ball, whether you want to be a ball or not. But here's where SCP-439 really shows its attention to detail. Once your bones have been converted into the perfect nursery space, the original bug you inhaled lays about 30,000 babies inside your newly renovated body cavity. Those babies need to eat something to grow up big and strong. Guess what's on the menu? Every organ you've got. Your heart, your liver, your kidneys, they all become baby food while you sit there trapped inside your own bone prison, feeling every bite. The really thoughtful part is that some of these insects know exactly which organs to eat and which ones to leave alone so you can stay alive longer. They're not just hungry, they're going to be strategic. Foundation reports mention finding victims with their eyes still moving around, tracking people in the room, so you get to watch everything happening to you right up until the end. Moving on, something even worse is SCP-3199, known as Humans Refuted. And they have some very strong opinions about traditional pregnancy, and they would like to suggest some modifications to the process. This thing looks like someone tried to build a person using only chickens, apes, and nightmares as reference material. It's about 9 feet tall, which is like almost as tall as I am, because despite what Wikipedia will tell you, I am tall. It's completely hairless and moves like it's constantly late for an important appointment that involves violence. When 3199 decides you're going to be a parent, your opinion on the matter becomes completely irrelevant. It charges at you at about 15 miles per hour, which is so fast that your fight or flight response literally just gives up and tells you to write your will instead. It tackles you, breaks a few bones to keep you still, then forces an egg down your throat. And this isn't a small egg. This is roughly the size of a softball, and it's going down whether your throat was designed for that or not. The egg dissolves inside you and releases this red fluid that starts melting your organs from the inside out. But instead of just killing you normally, this fluid keeps your heart and brain working while everything else turns into soup. You get to lay conscious while your liver becomes baby food. Your bones start dissolving too, which means your skeleton turns into jello while you're still using it. Imagine trying to stand up when your leg bones have the consistency of pudding. The whole process takes a few minutes, during which you're awake and feeling every single thing that's happening to your internal architecture. The fluid also contains something that keeps you from bleeding out too quickly. Can't have you dying before the baby finishes developing. That would be inconsiderate. You asshole. By the time SCP-3199's offspring is ready to hatch, there's basically nothing left of you except some skin and whatever that red fluid decided wasn't worth dissolving. Now moving on, the Foundation has SCP-939 filed under with many voices, but professional catfish would probably be more accurate for what this thing actually does. Picture something that looks like a really unfriendly dinosaur crossed the lamprey, except it's learned how to do perfect voice impressions of everything you've ever cared about, and not just their voices. And knows exactly what they would say to get you to come closer. 939 waits in dark places until someone wanders by, then starts the show. Maybe it calls out in your mom's voice, asking for help. Maybe it's your best friend saying they're hurt and need you to find them. Maybe it's pretending to be some hot goth girl in the corner that is like 9 feet tall and will love me forever. I don't know. The voice is going to be perfect. The desperation sounds real. Your brain knows something's wrong, but your heart is already making your feet move. And trust me, my feet are moving. I'm not strong. Here's what makes 939 particularly thoughtful in its approach. It doesn't just copy random voices. It specifically uses the voices of people who are already dead. So when you hear your grandmother calling your name from that dark hallway, you know she's been gone for 3 years. But you also know that's definitely her voice asking you to come help her. The psychological warfare here is really next level. You're standing there having this internal debate about whether dead people can call for help, while something with 60 plus teeth and no eyes is listening to you work through your feelings about morality and family obligation. Once you get close enough, 939 doesn't waste time with lengthy explanations or dramatic reveals. It just crushes your throat in one bite. The whole voice mimicry thing was apparently just foreplay. Multiple 939s can coordinate this routine too. So you might hear several dead relatives having a whole family reunion in the basement, all requesting your immediate presence for what sounds like very urgent ghost business. Moving on, we gotta talk about SCP-835. This operates what you might call an underwater luxury resort. If luxury resorts specialize in extended stay digestion packages and had a strict no checkout policy. This thing presents itself as a massive coral formation on the ocean floor, complete with welcoming tentacles that reach out to escort new guests directly into its main dining chamber. The hospitality is really very hands-on here. Once you're inside, 835 makes sure you're completely comfortable in its stomach-like accommodation. The walls are soft and squishy. There's mood lighting that's mostly just bioluminescent slime, and the ambient temperature is perfectly calibrated for slow cooking human tissue. Real 5-star treatment comes from the digestive fluids. They start working on you immediately, but in a very slow, considerate way. Instead of just dissolving you all at once, they take their time, making sure to preserve your nervous system so you can fully appreciate the quality of service you're receiving, if you catch my drift. What really sets 835 apart in the hospitality industry is the entertainment. The walls of your accommodation are decorated with the preserved faces of previous guests. They're still alive, still conscious, and still very eager to chat about what happened to them. The digestive process can take anywhere from hours to days, depending on how much 835 is enjoying your company. Some guests have reported being partially dissolved and reformed multiple times, just to extend their stay. The checkout process involves being completely broken down into nutrients and absorbed into the coral system. There's no baggage claim necessary, since you won't be needing your luggage anymore, or your skeleton. Foundation dive teams occasionally find neat piles of sorted human remains near 835's location, which kinda is a messed up suggestion. And that's why it's the most dangerous one on this list. If you like this video about SCPs, make sure to like this video and comment down below what you want to see in the future. And subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this. And if you want to watch another one of my videos, make sure to click the video on screen now.